The sky burned a fiery orange as the sun dipped below the horizon, but the beauty of the sunset was shattered by a chilling roar. Eli Matthews stood in his backyard, a half-finished barbecue forgotten on the grill, as a massive shadow passed overhead. The sound grew deafening, echoing through the once quiet neighborhood. He squinted into the sky, heart racing as he spotted the sleek, dark shapes of alien ships descending toward Earth. "Dad! What is that?" His daughter Lena's voice cut through the panic, her wide eyes reflecting the chaos above. "I don't know," Eli replied, his voice strained. "Get inside! Now!" He grabbed her arm, urgency fueling his movements. The serenity of their evening shattered, they rushed into the house, where Max, their loyal dog, barked anxiously at the door. As they slammed the door shut, Lena's curiosity piqued. "Are they aliens?" She scanned her father's face, searching for reassurance that didn't exist. "Seems like it," Eli said, swallowing hard. "We need to be quiet. Stay close." He peered through the window, heart pounding against his ribcage as blinding lights flickered from the descending ships. Panic gripped his chest. He could already hear distant screams and the sharp crack of gunfire. Lena's small hand slipped into his, a grounding force. "What are they doing?" Her voice trembled, a mixture of fear and fascination. "They're hunting," Eli whispered, his voice thick with dread. The Xantari, he thought, remembering tales of their ruthless predation on intelligent life forms across the galaxy. They came not to communicate, but to eradicate. The house shook as something heavy landed nearby, rattling the windows. Eli flinched, instinctively shielding Lena. "Stay down," he commanded, heart racing. The whir of alien technology vibrated through the walls, a menacing reminder of the threat looming outside. With a surge of adrenaline, he crouched to the ground, signaling Lena to do the same. "We need to find weapons. We can't just wait for them to come for us," he said, urgency knitting his brow. The memories of his military training surfaced, strategies and tactics he never thought he'd need again. "But Dad, what if they see us?" Lena's voice was barely a whisper, anxiety lacing her words. "They will see us if we don't move," he replied, resolute. "You trust me, right?" "Always," she said, squeezing his hand tighter. Her courage sparked something within him, reigniting the protective instincts that had dimmed over the years. Eli surveyed the room, his mind racing through options. "We have to check the garage. I've kept some old gear in there." He led Lena toward the door, each step heavy with the weight of uncertainty. As they crept toward the garage, the house remained eerily silent, save for the distant sounds of chaos outside. Eli opened the door, and a gust of cold air hit him, laden with the scent of smoke and burning metal. Inside, darkness swallowed them, but the faint outline of his old military gear provided a glimmer of hope. He flicked on a flashlight, illuminating the remnants of his past. "Look!" Lena gasped, pointing at the dusty box in the corner. "You still have your old rifle." Eli moved toward it, his heart racing as he realized he might actually need it. "It's not loaded, but I can fix that." His fingers brushed over the weapon, memories flooding back, the camaraderie, the battles fought, the lives lost. He wouldn't let history repeat itself. Lena peered over his shoulder, her eyes wide with admiration. "You'll be a hero, Dad. Let's just focus on surviving first," Eli said, steeling his resolve. The tension was palpable, crackling like static in the air. He could hear voices now, alien voices, harsh and guttural, issuing commands outside. Time was running out. Eli took a deep breath, adrenaline coursing through him. "Grab whatever you can find. We're going to protect our home." As they prepared, a deafening roar shattered the night, the ground trembling beneath their feet. Eli's heart raced. This was just the beginning. The fight for humanity had begun, and he would do whatever it took to keep his family safe. Eli stood in the dimly lit garage, the weight of the rifle resting heavily in his hands. Its cold metal felt foreign, yet familiar, like a long-lost friend. Lena rummaged through a pile of old camping gear, her small fingers sifting through the detritus of their past adventures, her expression a mix of determination and fear. "Dad, I found some flashlights and a couple of flares." She emerged from the shadows, her excitement a stark contrast to the gravity of their situation. "Good job, Lena. Those will help," Eli replied, forcing a smile. Each flicker of hope she brought forward served as a reminder of what they were fighting for. "Now we need to stay low and quiet." Just then, a thunderous crash echoed from outside, shaking the garage walls and sending a shiver down his spine. The ground trembled beneath them, vibrating with an ominous energy. "What was that?" Lena asked, her voice barely above a whisper, her wide eyes darting toward the garage door. "I don't know, but it can't be good." Eli's heart raced as adrenaline surged through him. He moved to the door, peering through the small window. The scene outside was chaos incarnate. Alien soldiers, tall and armored, patrolled the streets with a menacing precision. Their elongated limbs and eerie, phosphorescent eyes sent a chill coursing through his veins. "They're searching," Eli muttered. "We need to move before they get too close." He turned back to Lena, who clutched the flares tightly, her knuckles white. "Stick close to me, and whatever happens, don't make a sound." "Okay," she replied, though her voice quivered slightly, betraying her fear. As they edged toward the back door, Eli's mind raced. The Xantari had come to Earth for one reason: to hunt. Their reputation was legendary, known throughout the galaxy for their brutal efficiency. He couldn't let his daughter become prey. "Stay behind me," he instructed, his voice firm as they slipped out of the garage into the cool night air. The sky was a deep indigo, speckled with stars, an ordinary scene juxtaposed with the madness unfolding on the ground. They crept along the side of the house, the grass cool beneath their bare feet, as they moved toward the dense woods at the back of the property. Suddenly, a sharp, guttural voice broke the stillness. "Search the perimeter! No survivors!" The words sliced through the night, and Eli felt Lena shudder next to him. "Do you think they can see us?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "No, but we have to stay out of sight." He pointed toward the trees. "That's our best chance." As they reached the tree-line, Eli's heart sank. The woods were thick with shadows, concealing their escape but also isolating them from the rest of the world. A rustle echoed nearby, and Eli's instincts kicked in. "Get down!" He pushed Lena behind a large oak, its trunk sturdy and sheltering. Peering around the tree, Eli's breath caught in his throat. An alien soldier stalked through the underbrush, its elongated fingers clutching a weapon that emitted a faint hum. Eli's mind raced. This was not just a hunt, it was a slaughter, and they were caught in the crosshairs. "We have to move," he murmured, his mind whirring with options. "If we can reach the old barn on the other side of the woods, we might find something useful." "Do you think there are more of them?" Lena asked, her voice trembling. "Definitely," Eli admitted. "But we're not just going to sit back and let them find us." His determination surged, fueling his courage. "We're going to fight." With one last glance at the alien, Eli and Lena darted deeper into the trees, hearts pounding in unison. The woods swallowed them whole, the scent of damp earth and pine needles grounding them in the moment. Every sound amplified, the rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig, threatening to betray their position. A surge of panic threatened to drown him, but he quelled it with a single thought: they would survive. For Lena, he would fight. He led the way, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through his veins, ready to confront the nightmare that had invaded their lives. Eli and Lena moved cautiously through the underbrush, the sounds of the forest swallowing them whole. The moonlight filtered through the canopy, casting eerie shadows that danced around them. Every rustle of leaves sent a jolt of adrenaline through Eli's veins. They had to keep going. Stopping meant risking discovery by the Xantari. "Dad, how far do we have to go?" Lena whispered, her voice strained but steady. "Just a bit farther. We're almost to the barn," Eli reassured her, glancing back at her shadowed face. The determination in her eyes gave him strength, but it was quickly overshadowed by concern. He knew they were running out of time. As they approached the edge of the woods, the dilapidated barn came into view. Its wooden frame stood like a sentinel against the night, dark and foreboding. Eli's heart raced. This would be their sanctuary or their tomb. "We'll need to be quiet," he reminded her, squeezing her hand gently. "If there are any Xantari patrols nearby, we don't want to draw their attention." Lena nodded, her face a mask of concentration. They crept toward the barn, the dry grass crunching softly beneath their feet. Eli took a deep breath, sensing the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying wood. This place, once a haven of childhood memories, now felt haunted by the shadow of their impending doom. Just as they reached the barn door, Eli paused, sensing something amiss. "Listen," he instructed, and they both held their breath. The faint sound of metal scraping against metal echoed from inside, followed by a low, guttural growl. Eli exchanged a worried glance with Lena. "Could it be—" she began, but he shook his head. "Stay behind me," he commanded, instinctively positioning himself between her and the door. With a cautious hand, he pushed the barn door open. It creaked loudly, the sound piercing the stillness of the night. Inside, darkness enveloped them. Eli squinted, searching for any signs of life. As his eyes adjusted, he made out the shapes of old tools and a rusted tractor, but the real threat lay hidden in the shadows. A figure lunged at him from the darkness, an alien soldier, eyes gleaming with a predatory hunger. Eli barely had time to react, instinct taking over. He shoved Lena behind him and kicked out with all his strength, catching the Xantari off guard. It stumbled back, momentarily disoriented. "Run, Lena!" Eli shouted, his voice a raw mix of fear and determination. He grabbed a rusty shovel from the ground and brandished it like a weapon. Lena darted past him, her breath hitching in her throat as she fled deeper into the barn. Eli knew he had to hold off the alien, but every instinct screamed for him to follow his daughter. The Xantari recovered quickly, its elongated limbs moving with unnerving speed. Eli swung the shovel, connecting with the creature's arm. A sickening crunch echoed through the barn as the alien screeched in pain, drawing the attention of its comrades lurking outside. "Get away from her!" Eli roared, adrenaline coursing through him as he fought to keep the soldier at bay. But he could hear others approaching, their guttural voices growing louder, the sound mingling with the pounding of his heart. Lena's terrified face flashed in his mind. "You need to keep moving," he thought. "You need to survive." With a burst of desperation, Eli hurled the shovel at the Xantari, momentarily stunning it. He turned and sprinted toward Lena, finding her cornered against the far wall, her eyes wide with fear. "Over here!" he called, extending his arm. She rushed to him, and he pulled her into the shadows, their breathing heavy in the confined space. "Dad, what do we do?" Lena asked, her voice trembling. Eli could feel the weight of their situation bearing down on him, but he refused to let despair take hold. "We wait. We need to be smart. They'll search for us, but they can't see in the dark like we can." The Xantari outside were closing in, their voices a chilling reminder of their imminent danger. Eli's heart pounded as he peered through a crack in the barn's wooden wall, watching the silhouettes of the soldiers searching the area. "Stay quiet," he whispered, his breath hitching as he scanned the surroundings for anything they could use to their advantage. A plan began to form in his mind, a risky gambit, but one that might just give them a fighting chance. "Lena," he said softly, "when I give the signal, I need you to trust me. We're going to distract them." "Distract them? How?" she asked, her brow furrowing. "There's a way out through the back," he explained. "But I need to draw them away first. You have to promise me you'll run the moment you see me go." "I promise," she replied, determination igniting in her eyes. The moment of truth was approaching, and Eli's resolve solidified. They were going to survive this together. As he took a deep breath, he steeled himself for the confrontation ahead, preparing to face the darkness that threatened to consume them both. The moment of silence shattered as Eli prepared himself, adrenaline surging through his veins. The Xantari soldiers prowled just outside the barn, their guttural chatter piercing the still night air. Eli pressed his back against the rough wood of the barn wall, heart racing. He could feel Lena's presence beside him, a mix of fear and determination radiating from her small frame. "On 3 we move," he whispered, glancing at her. 1, 2, 3. Lena echoed, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Eli bolted forward, bursting from the shadows and into the moonlight. He shouted, "Hey! Over here!" The Xantari turned, eyes narrowing at the sight of the fleeing human. Eli sprinted toward the front of the barn, hoping to draw their attention away from Lena. The Xantari soldiers lunged in his direction, their movements swift and deadly. Eli dodged their outstretched arms, narrowly avoiding capture. The barn felt like a live beast behind him, pulsing with the energy of their pursuit. "Lena! Now!" he yelled over his shoulder. From his peripheral vision, Eli caught a glimpse of Lena bolting toward the rear exit, her form a blur in the dim light. Relief flooded through him, but there was no time to waste. The Xantari were closing in, their screeches of anger ringing in his ears. Eli glanced back, and his breath caught in his throat. One of the Xantari had broken away from the group, its elongated limbs propelling it toward him with terrifying speed. Panic ignited in his chest as he veered to the right, desperately searching for anything he could use. His foot struck a metal bucket, sending it crashing to the ground. The clang echoed through the night, a momentary distraction that momentarily threw off his pursuer. Seizing the opportunity, Eli dashed behind a stack of old crates, his heart pounding like a war drum. "Lena!" he shouted, voice strained. "Are you safe?" Her voice faltered, then steadied. "I'm in the back, but there's a door. It's stuck." Eli gritted his teeth, frustration boiling inside him. "Just keep trying. I'll hold them off." With a fierce determination, Eli picked up a rusty pipe from the ground and waited, breathing heavily as the Xantari soldier rounded the corner. The creature's eyes glinted with malice, muscles rippling beneath its skin. Eli gripped the pipe tightly, adrenaline coursing through him like fire. As the Xantari lunged, Eli swung the pipe with every ounce of strength he had. The metal connected with a sickening thud, and the alien stumbled back, howling in pain. But Eli knew he didn't have long. More soldiers were converging on his location, and they would be on him in seconds. "Lena!" he yelled again, his voice raw. "You have to break that door!" "I'm trying!" Her voice was strained, punctuated by the sound of metal scraping against wood. Eli faced the approaching Xantari, who had regrouped and were now advancing in a menacing line. "Come on, you bastards!" he growled, raising the pipe defiantly. "You want me? Come and get me!" With a surge of energy, Eli charged forward, feigning an attack to distract them. He swung the pipe wildly, connecting with one soldier's side and sending it crashing into the ground. But more were coming, too many. "Dad!" Lena's voice rang out, sharp and full of fear. With a final desperate effort, Eli turned back toward the barn's rear exit. He could see Lena's silhouette struggling against the door, panic etched on her face. "Lena, you have to get out! Now!" Just then, the Xantari surged forward, their claws glinting in the dim light. Eli's heart raced as he lunged back, but a cold grip seized his ankle, bringing him crashing to the ground. He fought against the alien's hold, but its strength was overwhelming. Suddenly, the barn door creaked open behind him. Lena burst through, her eyes wide with terror and determination. "I can't leave you!" she shouted, but Eli saw the resolve in her expression. "Go, Lena! You have to live!" With a choked sob, Lena turned, sprinting into the night. Eli's heart twisted at the sight, but he couldn't let fear consume him. Summoning every ounce of strength, he twisted and kicked at the Xantari soldier holding him. His boot connected with its head, and it released him, letting Eli scramble to his feet. Lena's figure disappeared into the trees, and Eli felt a fierce urge to follow, to protect her at all costs. But he had to buy her time. He squared his shoulders, his breath ragged, and faced the remaining Xantari. "Come on, then!" he yelled, adrenaline pulsing through him as he prepared to fight. He was just a human, a father fighting for his daughter's life against a ruthless alien horde. And he would not back down. As the first Centauri lunged at him, Eli raised the pipe high, ready to face whatever came next. He was determined to carve out a path for Lena, even if it meant facing the darkness alone.